Hello guys, today we are going to do our OOP and we are starting OOP from classes and objects. And first of all, I'm recording this video for myself, okay? So if anyone is watching the video, you can take advantage of this. You can enjoy. But I'm doing this for my revision and it would be easy if I do some documentation of everything that I have learned. So So this is the way of documenting my learnings through the video. Let's see the contents, what we are going to do. I'm saying we, what am I going to do? So I'm going to do, first of all, introduction to classes and objects. Then we'll see the declaration class, creating objects, accessing objects members and defining member functions, nesting of member functions, and then access specifiers, scope resolution operator, and then nested classes. So a lot of topics are there. So we will directly see the topic. So we will dive into the topic directly. So first of all, we will need to understand what are classes and objects. So the 60% of OOP is classes and objects. Okay, so if we can understand classes and objects, then I think 60% of OOP is already done. So what is classes and what is object? So if you ask me, then I would say that classes are just a blueprint of making something. That can be anything. Like we make blueprints before constructing our houses, buildings, right? So that blueprint is like class. Okay, so so it is just like definition. Like I'm just giving the definition, but I will give you one example, and let me first tell the definition for object as well. So object is the instance of that class. So we define it like that. But anything we create by using that blueprint of the class that by blueprint, that is object. Okay, so if you are making some buildings by using the blueprint of that building, then that building is your object, while that blueprint is the class that how you are going to make the building, where would be that rooms, where would be kitchen, something like that. So that kind of thing is the blueprint. So that is the class. And object is what you have made. That is object. Okay. So let me give you one example. So we can resemble with practical example. So the example is like you want to create a car, okay? So you want to create a car, and first of all, you will need to create the blueprint of the car. That means you need to first specify that where will be the seat, right? Where will be the steering, something like that. So, where will be the engine and what will be the size of the uh, tires or something like that. So, that kind of things you will create a blueprint. Okay, so that blueprint can be applied to every car. Okay, whatever car you are creating, it can be Ferrari, it can be whatever. So I don't know about that much about the cars, but it's still whatever car you create, it can be a blue car, it can be a red car, say right, red car, and it can be of any specific some specifications, something like that. So it can be anything, right? So that kind of property, it can have different properties. So the object can be different, right? Like you can have object of like red car, blue car. So these are the objects, different objects, okay, which are made by using that class. Okay, which are made by using that class, by using the blueprint that we have made inside of that class. So that is the main thing we need to just understand for now. And now we will do the programming thing, and I think I will be able to clear everything. So the main thing we need to remember is classes are the blueprints, the map that what can we do with the whatever objects we get. So whatever object we want to make, that the blueprint for that is the class. So that is the thing we need to remember for now. And you can see one example here, objects and classes. So here you can see a Dropbox object. Here you can see a checkbox object. Here you can see a button object. Here you can see a dialog box object. So the main advantage of OOP is that you don't have to repeat everything every time. Okay, so you create a blueprint for some object that can be like this Dropbox object. Let's see this Dropbox object. You created a class for this. Okay, you created a blueprint for this. So this blueprint you can use everywhere wherever you want to include Dropbox in your program, or it can be in applications. There can be many Dropbox objects, right? So you can see one is here and one is here. So two objects are right here. So in this way, there can be the need of many Dropbox objects. So that Dropbox object you can get from the same class, from the same blueprint. So that is the main advantage of classes. So it makes the code more readability. It increases the readability, and it also increases the drive, drive, that is do not repeat yourself. So that do not repeat yourself, that principle is execute, that principle you can apply here using OOP. That is the main advantage of OOP. And then let's see the specifying a class. So how do you specify a class? So there are two parts in the class specification, that is class declaration and class function definitions. So inside of the class, we have two things. There are two major components of the class. That is, one is attributes, or we can say datas, right? And the another thing is functions. Okay. So first thing is attributes or datas. Second thing is functions. Okay. So just remember this. Uh, I will explain that later. Class declaration, class function definitions. So let's see how to create a class. So class is what? Class is blueprint, a map. Okay, a map, you can say that. So that map can be used for various to create various objects. Okay, that blueprint can be used to create many objects that can have different properties, that can have different values. So that is it. What is class? Uh, so let's see how to create a class. So we use a keyword class to create a class, and then we give the name of the class, and then we use this curly braces, and inside of these braces we use two things. I have already told you that class has two components. First one is the attributes, second one is the functions. Okay. uh, so, member function we'll say generally. So these are also known as methods. So the functions which we include inside of the class, that is known as methods. Okay, so maybe I will be saying method instead of class. So you need to understand at that point. So so this private and public we will talk about this later. But see these things: variable declaration, function declaration, variable declaration, function declaration. So you can do two things, that is variable declaration and functional declaration. So I have already told you that it can have either variable, that is also known as data or attributes, or you can have function, that is known as methods. Okay. So this private and public is the property of that variable and function. We will talk about that later. Okay. So um, so let's talk about it now, right now. So I see some knowledge here about this. So let's talk about this right now. So what is private and what is public? So this is known as this is known as access specifiers. Okay, this is known as access specifiers, that how you are eligible to access, or you have that what is it said? You have the right to access or not. So that right, or I'm not able to remember that exact word. You are allowed to access or not, that permission. Okay, that permission. So that permission is specified by using these keywords, that is private and public. So private means what? So this private means it is, we can use our common sense uh, to understand that this the whatever inside of the private, we cannot access that so easily, something like that. So we can conclude like that from the keyword private. And then inside of the public, it can be accessed from anywhere. Okay, from anywhere. That is the main thing. So we will talk about this just now. Let's see. Mm, to give you a general overview, you can see that uh, no entry to private area. So private area cannot be accessed from outside. Okay, so it is something like it is already safe, or we can say it is protected. So we should not use the protected word here because there is one more this classifier. What is it said? Okay, because there is one more access specifier that is protected. So it would not be that much correct to say the private is protected because we have a separate thing that protected is separate. So that private means it is like safe inside. We cannot access it from the outside. And what is accessing? We don't know about that. So we will see that slowly. Let just remember what am I saying, and you can create notes as well. And I remember that I am shooting this video for myself, but you can understand from me as well, I think. So talking about the public area, you can see public area can be accessed from outside. The data can be accessed. The function can also be accessed. You can see that thing. So this is the class area. Okay, so class area is this, and this is the outside of class. So you can access from outside of the class for public area. But in case of private area, you cannot access from outside, but you can access from inside. That we will see. The differences between structure and class. So in C language, you should have studied about the structure. So it is like the light version of class. I think structure was developed first, and to give it more development, to take it to the another level, it was introduced to the class. So something like that. I think so. I don't know exactly, but I think that. So, so class is in only C++. We don't get class in C. We have structures in C, I think. By default, the member of the class are private. So whatever member is inside of the class, that can be data, that can be method or function. So that is in default private. Okay. So if we want to make it accessible from the outside, then we need to make it to public in that case. So by default, it is private. Encapsulation. So this we will use later. Let's not talk about this right now. The keywords public and private are known as visibility levels. So visibility levels means what is visible from outside, something like that. You can resonate it like that. What is visible from outside, what you can access from outside, that is visibility level. So a simple case example you can see here. Uh, we will make a code as well. First of all, let me get up to this topic, up to creating object, and then we will see how to make a class and how to make an object as well. So a simple case example: class item, int number, float cost. Okay, so we are making a class by using class and class name. This is item. So item is the class name. Okay. And inside of this curly braces, we are first of all specifying the int number. That means we are creating variables. So if we are not specifying the this access specifiers, okay, that is that public and private, that thing. So we are, if you are not specifying, then by default it is private. That means these two variables are private. Okay. And then if you are specifying it as public, then it is public, obviously. So we are creating two functions here. So these are the public functions. That means the members can be accessed. Whatever is inside of the public, that can be accessed from outside as well. And what is outside? Outside means outside of this class. So this is the scope of class. Okay, this is the scope of class. And outside of this scope, if we are able to access, that means it is in public. We can basically understand that. So if you that public means we can access from outside of this class. Okay. So let's say creating objects. So how do we create the object? So to create the object, first of all, we need to specify the name of the class. Okay, so we are creating object to create something, to create an object, we can say, to create something by using the class. That means we need to include the name of the class first, and then what will be the object name. Okay, so here you can see, while creating object, this is the name of the class. So this and this is the name of the object. Okay, so whatever object we are creating, that would be the name. So by using this object, we can access these properties of the class, these components of the class. So these are the data and these are the functions. This both can be accessed by this object, which we have just created by using item x. Item means class name, x means object name. Okay, now accessing class members. So how do we access the class members? You can see object name dot function name and actual arguments. So you can see inside of this function, it is taking two arguments. First one is integer type, second one is float type. Okay, so while accessing these we can say functions. So while accessing these methods or functions, we can say, of the class, we call the function in this way. You can see, first of all, we include the object name and then dot and then function name and then pass the arguments which is required by the function. So if you are calling this get data, then you will write what? You will write first object name, that is x dot, then function name, that is get data, this get data function, and then inside of the brackets you will pass two arguments, that is one is integer and another one is float. Okay, so if I talk about integer, I can pass like 5 and float 5.5, right? So 5 comma 5.5, like this, so we can pass like this. And for this you can see, uh, get data, you can see one example of get data here. 175.5 is passed, and you can see object name dot function name, and inside of the function we are passing the argument. And then here you can see put data function is called from here. Okay, so function calling by using the object name. Okay, so we want to see the object, we want to include anything inside of the object. That means we can do that by using the functions or attributes, data, right, which we have created inside of the class. So inside of the class we can create anything. Okay, we can create anything, we can create any variable, we can create any string, character, right, any data type of variable, and then we can also create these functions which I have already explained. And now after this, so you can create object like this as well. Okay, so instead of doing this class name x and semicolon, you can create multiple objects by using this. Okay, uh, so in front of the semicolon you can specify all of your object name after the class, just after the class, before ending this by using semicolon. You can say, here you can write the object's name. Okay, then it will be automatically created without writing this one. Now you can directly access the inside of the class by using this kind of things, which I am going to show you now. Okay, so basics, mm, exe basics of, no, I will say creating classes and objects dot cpp. Okay, let me write the code. Include iostream, then using namespace std int main return 0. Then so we need to make the class outside of the main function. Okay, so let me create a class name student. So this class is the keyword for creating classes, then student is the name of the class. Okay, so I can include anything. So let me give the access specifier as public, and then I will write some, I will give it some variables. Let's say I'm taking the name I'm taking the name of the student by using string name, and then I'm taking, let's say, roll number by using int roll. Okay, so and then I'm taking the grade, grade, or let's say gender, uh, care, let's say sex. So we are specifying the gender. Let's see its gender. It will be more. Okay, so you need to uh, end your class like this. Okay, so this means your class will be created. So now your class has been created which stores only what? Only the datas. Okay, only the datas or variables you can say. So you can also create functions. Let's say, what should I do? Mm, what can I do in this function? Roll for that function. Let's also take max, int max, max of, let's say, science, and then also the max of, int max of, mm, what can be other subject? English, let's say something like this. And then I'm also creating a function. So it is, which is void type, and the function name is sum. Okay, let's give it some font. Okay, so it is taking the input. We should have made anything. Let's not make this thing. Let's just make a simple function, sum func, and then we will take two integers a and b inside of the this arguments, and then we will do what? We will print a plus b. Okay, so something like this. So we will do a plus b. So how to access this function, and how these datas are accessed or initialized. Okay, so that thing we are going to see now. Okay, so inside of the main function you create the object. So now you are going to use these properties, use these attributes, use this function inside of your main function. Okay, so no matter how many objects you are creating, you can reuse them every time. Okay, you can reuse these properties every time, you can reuse this function every time for different objects. So let me just create student s1. So this will be my student. So we will study about the constructor as well, then we will see passing the arguments inside of the class. So for now, oh no, we need to have, let's just see how to initialize these attributes inside of these classes. So we have name, roll number, gender. Okay, these are the variables which are inside of the class. So this is the what? This is the blueprint. So we can give any name, we can give any roll number, we can give any gender. Okay, that means according to the object, that specifications, that qualities or properties, it is changing, right? So every object will have different properties, but the blueprint is same. The blueprint is same. You can see that this blueprint is same, and you can use this to create different objects. Okay, if the objects have the same properties, okay, if you have the same properties of objects that has the same blueprint, not the properties, let's say it has the same blueprint or same map. Okay, then you can use this. You can use OOP to not repeat your code. You can use OOP. You can create class and use that thing, that blueprint many times. Okay, so that is the advantage of OOP that I have told many times. So we specify, we initialize the we initialize the variables inside of the classes like this, you can see. So S1, S1 in means what? Object name. Dot name. This name is what? This name is the data or variable inside of this object or class, not object. Let's say class, student class. So student class has a variable name, and we are initiating that name uh, for S1 object. So we are giving name to S1 object. So we have created one S1 object, and now we are going to use this variable for S1 object. Okay. So now we are going to use roll number as well. 102353001. So this is my real roll number. Then sorry, I wrote S2. It is S1, and then again S1 dot gender. That would be M, something like this. Okay. So that is it. You have initialized this these variables for S1 object. Okay. So likewise, you can also create other objects. Student, uh, student S2, and you can initialize it like this. Let me just copy paste. Control C and Control V, something like this, and you can change this as S2, 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 and I will change a little this. Let me include my surname and then male. That is male already. So now we have we have created two objects S1 and S2 by using this property. So we haven't still used this function. We will see that just now. With we are first of all using these variables. So these variables we have used multiple times. You can see for multiple objects. Okay. So these multiple objects you can see we have used this variable, and we have initiated the uh, properties, these properties for every object as well. For now, for printing the now printing these properties of every object, let me now show you how to print. See out S1 dot name. If you write this, then you will get the name inside of S1. Okay. And if you write see out S1 dot let's say first roll number, and then in L. Let me just copy paste, and S1 dot name, roll number, and then gender. Okay. So gender. Okay. So you can print out like this as well. Okay, now let me show you by running the program. You can see Suraj 1023530001 and M. So the properties of the S1 object is printed. You can see, and then I can do the same for S2 object as well. I can do the print for S2 object as well. You can see S2, S2, and S2, something like this. So let me run it. You can see for the S2 object as well, it is printed. So, but if you have a lot of objects, if you want to create thousands of objects and you want to print those thousand objects, then it would be a headache. It would be a headache if you print it like this, right? Right. So, for that, we use what? We use constructor to initiate the things, to initiate your objects. This whatever you have initiated inside your object, that is object name, object roll number, object gender. This kind of initiation can be done in shortcut. Okay, that in shortcut you can initiate this by using constructor. So let's see how to use the constructor. So mm, we will see the function later. To use constructor, you have to create a function. So constructor is nothing but function. Constructor is nothing but function. String n, comma, int r, comma, char, char g. Okay. So I told you that this is how we create constructors. And the main property of constructor is that it is initiated itself. When you create the object and pass arguments, it is created itself. So now we will directly pass the arguments inside of here. Okay. While creating the object inside of brackets, we will pass the arguments. So like Suraj and 1023530001, and then uh, roll number, and then gender. Okay, something like this. So this will call this constructor directly. Okay, so the calling of the constructor will happen directly without any initialization or something. From here, it will go directly to the constructor. The constructor will be called directly. So now we have to, mm, we got Suraj inside of N, and this roll number inside of this capital R, and then M inside of capital G. Now we have to assign these things, these all of the things which we have got inside of these three variables. We need to assign it to this variables. Okay, that is the class uh, variables. So we will do what? Name equals N, then role equals R, then gender equals capital G. So this will do what? This will do assign of this uh, whatever value or whatever we have got inside of these three variables, it will be assigned to this class variables. Okay. So this way you can create as much any objects you want. Okay. As much any object you want. You can directly use something like for I int I equals 0 to I less than let's say 5, I plus plus, and then you can use directly this kind of loop. And mm, okay, so you can use this kind of loop, and then you can create as many. So I think first of all I'll need to take input for this as well. So let's not write this everything. So you can take input saying string name, right? So name and then something like this. So you can take C in, and it you will take inside of name. So for each loop, the name will be different, right? And you will call the function, this constructor function from this from here. Okay, so while creating the object, and object name will be different for each loop, right? Each iteration. So for first iteration it will be 0, that means s0, right? Something like this. Okay. mm, I think you are allowed to do create like this. I don't know. I think so. Should I try? I think I should try once. Let's see. Int role. uh okay, int role, and then char gender. Okay, and then C in role, then C in gender. Okay, now name, name, sorry, not like this. Name, role, and then gender. We will pass this argument to the constructor. Okay. Mm, String and what is the mistake? What is it? Why is it showing like this? No suitable conversion function from std. Blah, blah. I think we are not allowed to create like this or what? Then what can we do? String roll number, character, gender. I think there should be no problem in this. I'm creating an array, let's say, yeah, I'm creating array or what? So let's create an array for this. Int s, let's say 5. So if I do this, then it will work because it will, it is array basically. So we are creating a 1D array of 5 elements. So one each element will represent one object for that class. Okay. So S0, S1, S2, S3, S4. So these 5 objects will be created for this class. So it will ask for the input first, and we will give input. Let's give. Oh no! Again, what is the mistake? Role, gender, int, string, character. Why is it showing this kind of mistake? Let's try using different variable name. G. Why, bro? What is the problem? Oh, I'm getting so much confused on this. What is happening? Creating classes and object error conversion from char to non-scalar type student requested. Char to non-scalar type. Let's just remove the loop. This is creating so much confusion and I don't know why. Let's let's just create manually. Okay, this is such an headache. Huh? Uh, there should be double inverted comma. But why can't I do like that? Okay, let's make S2 as well. Control C and then control paste here. Copy this, copy, then paste. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Control. Okay, forgot to press Control C or something. What is happening, bro? I'm getting so much slow. I don't want to be this slow. Two, then three, two, fuck. VS Code, three, four, then five. Let me just quickly change the name. Sahil, whatever, whatever two, whatever three, let's say. Um, two, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, all are the males, let's say. Now, what do you think it will be? Oh, 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 bro. Okay, again, what is the mistake, bro? Don't tell me. Okay, so you can see I have created five objects and I have passed different arguments for each objects. And this argument will be passed to this constructor, and this constructor will assign the values into these variables of class, okay, for each objects. And then, mm, and then instead of using this get mm, get details, let's say this student s, and then we will print out c1 dot, sorry, s1, sorry, not s1, s dot name, and then everything. Just wait a second, I will explain. Mm, this is s1, this is set. Sorry, it will be s1 for everyone. Okay. Okay. Then we will call the function get underscore details, and we will pass our object that is s1, and then the same for five objects. It's showing error, I don't know why. Bro, s3, s4, s5. Okay, get details, get details, student s. What is error here? Undefined. I think it is included in inside the private. Okay, now it's not with the errors. Okay. Okay. While calling the function, let me just try for only one, for only one object. I will try only for one object and then I will try for others. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I think it is asking for input, but I haven't included any comment for that. So first of all, I'll give my name, then roll number, then this will be the gender. Okay. Oh my God. Name, roll number, gender, and then how many times it is printing? One, two, three, four, five. Five times it is printing my name. How? Okay, okay, okay. Sorry. Sorry, sorry, sorry. But how is this roll number getting printed? Oh, it is not printed. Sorry, this is my input. Oh my God, what am I saying, bro? This is my role, and this is my gender. Yeah, I created too many. There was only five, no, only three variables. Now, I think we can remove the comments and try for five objects. Okay, S2 dot. We have, whenever we use the, sorry, S4, oh my God, I cannot focus on two things. Either I can talk or I can write the code. So you can see here that I have initialized five objects and I have called the get details function or methods, we can say. Methods means function inside of this class. So inside of this class, we can see inside of the arguments, I have written student S. So this means what? This means the data type, or we can say the class name. So if you are receiving the object, then you have to write the data type as the class name. Okay, so I have written the student as data type. Then the any variable inside of this, I will get the object which I am passing from here. Okay, so to use any methods inside of the class, you have to use object name dot method name. Okay, so I had forgot this thing because in Python it is different. So we directly call it like this. So I got different little confused. So we have to use object name dot method name, and inside of this we pass the object, and this object is received by this s, right? And then it will print s dot name. That s means s1 for this, s1 dot name, s2, sorry, s1 dot role, s1 dot gender, and then for and again it will call the same constructor, sorry, not constructor, call the same function or method, and then it will again print the properties, or you can say these things, these different values, okay, these different data inside of the object, okay, for the object. So let's try this thing, try to run and execute. Mm, so now let's give name roll number mail, only one. And why we are taking input? We are directly initializing the things, so we should not take input. Oh my God. Okay, you can see the thing. I will make it little bigger. Yes. Suraj, roll number male. Sahil, roll number male. Whatever roll number male. Whatever two roll number male. Whatever three roll number male. You can see I have just created get details function inside of the class, and I'm calling that function for each object, and I'm able to use that same function so many times. You can see I have used five times here. So if you were writing a simple code, then obviously you can use normal function as well, but for this we can create an object, and that only that object can access inside of that class. Okay, so if you have something two kind of things which will have the same kind of blueprints, which will just differ in just small things, some properties, but the base is same, the blueprint is same, then you can use class. You can create class and give different properties to the objects to create different objects. Okay, so these kind of things can be done. And inside of get details, you can see I have done everything. And you can also make array, and you can use loop to make array. And I was trying that thing, but it didn't work. I don't know why. There was something syntax error. I had done it in only structures in C, and I haven't done it in C++. So I will try that thing later, and maybe I will include that thing in another video or something. So the main thing is the constructor here, and then the methods or functions. Okay, the main thing, these two main things we should understand. So constructor is called itself when we pass arguments inside of the object. While creating the objects, we pass the arguments, and that arguments is passed inside of the arguments which is received by this constructor. Okay, so these arguments are received by this constructor, and it is initializing the variables of the uh, class. Okay, so the main thing we need to understand, the main I will say 2 points. We need to remember those 2 points. Okay, so the methods or the functions inside of the class, you can see this student, this is constructor, this get details, this is a function. These both are the function, but it is a special type of function which is known as constructor, which will be initialized itself when we create the object and pass arguments. Okay, so this both function, whatever function we create inside of this class, so you can see the class is finished at this line. So inside of this curly bracket, if I create any function, that function will be able to access all the elements inside of this class. Okay, it can be a variable, it can be other functions. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, even if it is even if the that access specifier is private or protected or whatever public, so we can access everything inside of the class. Everything is accessible by everyone. Okay, we need to just remember this thing. Okay, so we can call other function as well from inside of the uh, function of class. So inside of one function of the class, we can call another function for another functionality, let's say. We can do that. So that thing we need to remember first. And then the constructor is called by itself when we initialize it with any argument. If we do not create a constructor, okay, so if we do not create a constructor, let's say like this, then we do not pass any arguments. Okay, so if we have no arguments to pass into the uh, mm, no arguments to pass inside of the that class, then we can just do like this. But inside of this there will be always a constructor created by itself, which is known as default constructor, which looks like this. Let me show you something like this. So this is the default constructor which is already inside of the code, but we can't see that thing. It is when we initialize the object like this, when we create an initialized object like this without passing any argument, then it will call this default constructor. Okay, this default constructor is called, and we don't see this obviously because it is not seen. So if I want to create this kind of, if I want to pass this kind of object as well and this kind of object as well, then what I have to do? Hmm, let me go a little back. Okay, so let's say that I want to create this kind of object as well. Then I have to make one more constructor, student. That would be my default constructor. So this is known as parameterized constructor, that is, and this is known as default constructor, which already exists. But if we include any parameterized constructor in our code, if we make any parameterized constructor, then if we want to create an object without any arguments, then we have to manually create one default constructor. Okay, so now this code will work, and there would be no error. Obviously, you can see there is no error, and this works perfectly. So the thing is, you can create multiple constructors, and according to the parameters inside of the constructor is called. For example, I want to pass only Suraj here. Then I will only receive n. Inside of n, I will only receive string type. That is Suraj. Okay, that is my name. And then okay, and then I will initialize the name variable inside of this class as n. Okay, so this will also work. So you can create multiple constructor, but you cannot create the same type of constructor multiple times. You have to, if you want to some make different properties inside of your objects. So you want to include one special feature. Some I had given the example of car last time. Last time means at the start of the lecture of this video, we can say. So I had given an example of car. So I had told you that car may have different properties. If there is one special property, or if we assume that one car has less properties than others, yeah, so it has some missing property, then you cannot pass everything. All the argument may not be available, or you may have one extra argument available, but others are same. So in that case, you can create one more constructor. Okay, so you can like one constructor would be for cars, and another can be for supercars, which will have uh, like speed, some that reliability, something like that. So that kind of features, extra features. So you will include that extra features inside of another constructor. You can do that. So we do not use that thing. We can use nested classes for that. So we will see that thing as well. So I think I have done with these much things. So creating objects, how to create classes, and all of these things I have done. So memory allocation for objects. Um, declare is not specified class relative. Since all the objects belonging to the class you use the same same member function, no separate space is allocated for member functions. So this is the main advantage. I have already told you that all the objects are using the same member functions. That member function means the function inside of that class. It is also called methods or functions or member functions. That same thing. No separate space is allocated for member function. So every time you are calling the same member function, you are not making multiple member functions, not multiple functions to do the same thing. You are calling the same function. So that means a lot of space is saved, right? Only space for member variables is allocated separately for each object, because each object has a different properties. So the variables should be allocated differently. So for in that case, the space is allocated differently, but the complexity of the code or um, the time taken to write the code, or the number of lines taken uh, in the code, that is reduced. Okay, that is reduced, and it makes the code more simple if you use classes and objects. Okay, and then because member variables will hold different data values for different objects, and then I have also already talked about this put, no, sorry, get data. So I think I had created with the get details. So that is the same thing, and we can also create put data. So I will show you. We don't need to even do this. Okay, we don't need to even do this. We will just create a put data. We will not create this. Let me use a shortcut method. I think which one was the end of the, okay. Here we can create many sorry, S2, S3, S4, and S5. So like this, we can create many objects in shortcut way. So I am creating this. Control C, and then I will just use these things, and I will create a function here that will have name as void, sorry, set details. Okay, so set details, and then it will inside of s, and it will ask for C in mm, string name, int roll number, and then char gender. Okay, now n n g. So I can give a print out statement here. Enter the details, that is name, roll number, and gender. Okay. Uh, it Indel. So we can do this, and we can call this function for every. It was set details. We can just replace this instead of G. I will set it. Okay, let me do it more quickly. Control H, and I will set it as set details. Enter, and enter. Okay, so it is done. We can see all of this. So now I will have to write here. So now I will run this code, and it will firstly. Okay, something is wrong. The main thing is it will first call this set details function, and all of the details will be set inside of this. Mm, okay, I think we don't need to have a constructor in this case. We can do like s dot name equals n, s dot roll number equals r, and s dot gender equals g. So I think we can do this thing. So we are taking input from the user about the, oh, I haven't charged. Just wait a second. I forgot to turn on the switch. That's why it was lagging little later. So I'm asking for the details of roll number, name, roll number, and gender from the user, and he will enter the name inside of this n. It will take input inside of this n, and then roll number will be inside r, and that gender will be inside this small g. And I will assign this into the these variables of the class. So for this object, in this case, s means this s1 because we are calling the function and passing this object s1 that we are creating here. You can see we are passing into this function, and we are asking for the inputs, that is name, roll number, and gender, and we are assigning this into the by using this, we are assigning each of the object properties, that is name, roll number, and gender, by using these. mm, yes, by using these variables. These variable values are passed into this. Okay, by using these properties, that is blueprint basically. So I have used that word many times. I don't know why this code is not running. How many errors it is showing? Bro, what is this? I don't see any error. Set details, set details, set details. Okay, this constructor I forgot to remove. Let's see now. Okay, enter the name, roll number, and gender. Okay, sorry. Now I will write my name, then roll number. Let's see. And then gender. And then, okay, I will write something else. Name, anything, whatever. Then gender. Eh? Oh, I accidentally entered I. What the hell, bro? Come on. Suraj. 1023530001. Gender is M. Sahil. Blah 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 blah. Gender is M. Taxi, let's say. Blah 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 blah. Gender is F. And whatever. Then then M. Then gala. Then gender is F. Okay, I think I again inputted the wrong. What is this 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0? I don't know. 0 0 0. We are creating so many. Let me just create only two. Let's now check for these two only. Okay. Suraj 1023530001, and then M, then Sahil 1023530002, and M. 0 0. What is the mistake? Okay, now I understand what is the mistake. We are passing the object into the function and we are initializing it, but this object is different. Different object is getting created. Okay, so a different object is getting created inside of the function. So the scope of this object and this object is different. Both of the object is different, even though they have the same attributes or maybe the object of same class, but they are different. So I have to pass the pointer. So I should probably remove this. So I have to make the object pointer. So let's see how to make the object pointer. So this was one topic as well. So I will cover this right now because we are getting this problem. So to solve this problem, I have to create object pointer. So now I got it. Student star. So star means pointer. S1. Okay. Mm, PTR, let's say PTR equals S1 or what? How do we create? Okay, I remember something that is passing the object while passing the object inside of the function. It is passed by value. So to make it pass by reference, we can use AND here. Something like this. It was something like this. Let's try. We can directly use AND. Oh my God, bro! I should remove this one as well. And I should probably try for only one object. Let's see. The hell, bro? 102353001 M. Why am I getting zero? I have to look at the note. Let's just leave this and move on. Let's now look the defining member functions. So member functions, I have talked about it little already. So you can define a function inside of class as well and outside the class as well. So you can see outside of the class definition. When function is defined outside class, it requires a prototype declaration in the class. When function is defined inside class, it does not require a prototype declaration in the class. So prototype declaration means we have to declare that function first inside of the class at least. Okay, so if we want to do declaration of maybe functions, so we have to uh, include the prototype declaration inside of the class anyhow. Okay, so you can see here. mm, I don't think there is any example for that. So, so in this case, we use this scope resolution operator. Okay. So to access the other variables or methods of different scopes. Okay. To access the methods and variables of different scopes, we use scope resolution operator. Okay. So if I want to access the variables of class, okay, then I have to use scope resolution operator, and in front of that operator, I will include the class name. Okay, class name and double colon. That double colon means scope resolution operator. So by using this, I can access the variables and methods inside of the function. Okay, inside of the class. Sorry. So mm, okay, should I explain this or not? Mm, let me just explain it without coding. So I will use this example. Mm, so so if I'm including this function, so this declaration of function, the whatever is the inside of the function, if function is defined outside of the class, so then we have to include the uh, prototype declaration inside of the class. That means we have to declare the function a little more. That is like void and function name, and then brackets and curly brackets and close. So that much we have to do at least. Okay, that much we have to do at least. Or if there are arguments to be passed, then we can also uh, declare the arguments as well there. So there was one example. Here it is. So it is by using inline function. So inline function does what? It basically suggests the compiler to not call the function, not actually call the function, but without calling, it will implement the body of the function directly. Okay, it doesn't call the function, it will directly execute the whatever is inside of the body of the function. So it will directly fetch that thing, and without calling and without passing the arguments, and without that returning. So that thing will not be done. So what is the benefit of this thing? So we know that function saves our space, right? It saves our space, but it can consume our time. Okay, it can consume our time. It can make the process slow by because the process of calling, assigning, that passing arguments and returning the values. So this process take a lot of time. So this may make the process slower. Okay, so to make it little faster, in some simple function we can use the inline functions. So this will do what? This will ignore the part of calling and passing arguments and returning the values. That kind of thing is that kind of thing is ignored, and then it will only implement the body of the function. So it will face the body of the function, and whatever is inside of that function, maybe there may be some calculation or anything. So that thing will be implemented directly without calling the function. So that is the main benefit of inline function. So we are using this inline function here, and with it we are using scope resolution operator uh, to define a function outside of the class. You can see we are creating a class item, class name item, and then here is our private variable int a, and inside of public variable I have used void get data int b. Okay, so inside of get data function, so this is our get data function, and this is data type, that is void, and inside of argument I am receiving int b, that is b integer. And this is the prototype. Okay, this is the prototype definition that we have to include inside of the class, and then rest of the body of the class can be created outside of the class as well, or you can directly create inside here as well. That is very much simple thing, we have done that already. But if you want to create the functions or methods outside of the class, then you can use the scope resolution operator to do that, and you can also use inline function. So this is not actually creating the function outside of the class. This is actually uh, it is actually minimizing the process time by by not actually calling the function but directly implementing the body of the function. Okay, so that is it. And you can see the class name and scope resolution operator, this, and this double colon, and then get result. This is function name. So this is how we use uh, that scope resolution operator uh, to initiate, or we can say we to define a function outside of the class. And then let's see. I have already talked about these things. Okay, so you can see function saves the memory, but it is time consuming because this jumping to functions, saving register, pushing arguments to the stack, returning the values, that kind of things takes time. That is it. So it is saving space, but it is worthless if it is taking too much time, right? So for that we can use inline function, which is a simple request. Okay, it is not a command. Okay, it is not a command. It is a request, and uh, so the compiler may ignore the request in some cases as well. So if the function is too much complicated, then in that case that inline function will not work. The calling of the function will take place. Okay, so some of the cases can be like containing many loops, right? And switch statement, go to, and recursions, and static variables. So these kind of things, in that cases, it will ignore. The compiler will ignore that inline function and it will call the function anyhow. So now the nesting of member functions. So we can also do the nesting of member functions. Mm, So I have already told this thing that inside of the class, everything inside of the class can access other things of that class as well. So nesting of member functions means inside of the function of a class, we are creating or calling another function. Okay, so we can call another function inside of one member function. Okay, so you can see a class employee class is made created here, and then it has only one data type, that is one attribute, that is name. And inside of the public it has one function, display function, with argument void, and it will print out the name equal to name. So this name, okay, this name it is printing. And inside of get data it is uh, receiving the name. Okay, it is taking input the name. So okay, and then after that this display will no, no. This get data function, inside of get data function, we can see the calling of display function. A member function of a class can be called by another function of the same class dot get data is calling display. You can see this get data function in the same class. This get data function is calling the display function. You can see. So uh, a function inside of a class can call other function as well. That is the main thing. And you can see employee emp, that is emp object is created, emp get data. When this get data is called, user will give input inside of name, and display will be called, display function will be called. It means inside of this function we are calling this function, so we will get up to here. From here inside we will get here. Okay, and inside of this we will print out the name that we have just given input here. Okay, so that is the thing. And let's talk about the access specifiers in C++. So before that, let me see if I have missed something or not. Creating classes, double constructor, I have talked about this. Inline with scope resolution. So I have already talked about this. I had created one function, one code here. So let's see this scope resolution. So inline with scope resolution. So I have already told about this thing. You can see I'm creating this item and get data function, and I have directly initialized this thing inside the private. And you can see outside of the class, this is the class finished here. Item class is finished here. And this get data function is uh, defined outside of the class. You can see. So that is it. So I have already talked about this thing as well. And nested class, this is the last topic, I think. Public access by non-member. Okay, so we are just here. So let's see the access specifiers. So I have told all earlier as well. Mm, there are three access specifiers. That is, one is public, one is private, and one is protected. In case of C++, uh, so it is not in Python, but we can use that encapsulation as well by using double underscore in Python. So let's not talk about that thing. Uh, so talking about the public, so these are accessible outside the class, inside the class, and anywhere. We can call it by any other function. Inside of other function, it is accessible in other functions as well. Okay, so it is accessible everywhere basically. So this is the public members. Mm, you can see are accessible both member function and non-member function as well. Object can access member directly by using dot operator. So I forgot to talk about one thing, that is this function. Oh no. So I should have told that while using the constructor. So mm, 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 mm. So let's see. So I will try to make you understand what is this function. Okay. In radius, let's say inside of this we will write int radius. Sorry, this is int radius, and this is our constructor, and it is radius, and this is the radius we are passing into the constructor. This is the class. Mm, okay, one bracket is missing. Okay, so this is the class, and this is the variable of the class circle, which has the name radius. And I'm creating one constructor which will receive radius, int radius, and then I will assign a radius as this radius. So will this work or not? What do you think? Okay, I am not printing anything. See out, see out, C1 dot radius int L. So what will get printed? What is this thing, bro? What is this thing? We are assigning 5 into the radius, and we are saying that assign, sorry, in this radius, we are assigning 5, and we are saying that inside of this radius, assign this radius value. That means 5. But this is not working. Do you know why? Because the variable name for this constructor argument and the data or attribute of the class is same. So in this case, when we want to specify the data of the class, then we use this function. So we use something like this. So this means what? This means the variable inside of the class. That is the variable of the class. This, this one. So this radius means this one, this radius. Okay, that means the variable inside of the class, the variable of the class. We have to say like this. The variable of the class. When we use this arrow, okay, minus arrow. So this is the end. This function basically. Then access specifier. public, something public was there. Public access by non-member. So I have already told you that public member can be accessed by any member. That if that is member of the class, it can be object, it can be non-member as well. You can see here, mm, I have created a function outside of the class. So this function is not included inside of the class. This is separate normal function. Inside of this function, uh, first of all, I'm creating one object and I'm passing Suraj inside this name, and this name means uh, this. Inside of this name, Suraj is getting assigned from here to here. Okay, and then first of all, inside of roll number, I'm passing this inside for the constructor argument, and roll will have this value. And when I do this roll equal to roll, then this roll number will get this value. Okay, so now, okay, now. Now you can see these both variables are inside the public specifier. So I can access it from anywhere. That means, okay, that means I can access it from anywhere. So I'm just passing, okay, I'm just passing, I'm passing an object. So I have created an object that is P1, and I'm passing this object inside of this function. And I am receiving this object, and while receiving I have to specify the data type is the name of the class, that is person, and then P. Instead of P I will have this P1, that means P dot name, that means P1 dot name. So I'm printing this thing. So let's see what is getting printed. So I should get Suraj and my roll number. So you can see Suraj and my roll number is getting printed. So you can see that public is accessible everywhere. Okay. And then now let's talk about the private. So private can't be accessed by the object and outside of the class. So outside of the class, we cannot access the private. So, but it can be accessed inside of the class anywhere, okay, by any member. So can be accessed by the member functions of that class. They cannot be accessed by any non-member function. Data is hidden from outside world. That is it. And function of a class cannot access private members using dot operators. Okay, so dot operator means like this. So I have used p dot name. So if this dot is in private, then I cannot access it like that. Okay, if it is in private, you can see error has occurred already. So this dot operator cannot be used to access that variables inside the private specifier. Okay, so that is the meaning. Let's make it public again. All the data at the beginning of the class is by default private until any specifier is mentioned. So I have already talked about this, that the by default specifier is private. Okay. And we need to specify it manually into public if we want to make any variable or any methods as public. Okay. And then access specifier is private again. The same thing. You can see inside of private, we have two variables, string name and float salary, and then to only one function, that is get salary function in float type, and it is returning the salary. And inside of public, we have a string address and a function that is get data, which is set data, which is taking input of name and addresses, and then void display, which will print the name and addresses. So inside of main function, I'm creating one object named imp of this class employee, and then I'm taking input of imp.name. So this is not okay because this name is inside of private uh, specifier. Okay, so We have already studied that we cannot access the things inside of the private specifier by using the dot operator. Okay, so dot operator cannot be used. You can see imp dot name. So this kind of operator cannot be used. So we cannot access inside of the private. Basically, that is the thing. And then m dot set data. This can be done because it is in public specifier. Set data is here. We can do this. M dot display. We can do this as well because it is in public specifier again. So private member functions. So the function of private members. Let's see. So you can see get salary was the function of private member, and you can see we are creating one object emp, and we cannot take input inside of the emp. We have already talked about this, and we cannot call the get salary function as well. Okay, by using this emp dot get salary because it is not accessible outside. It is not accessible outside, and we cannot call the function which is inside of the private specifier. Okay, so we need to specify it into public before calling, but we can do this set data and display. We can call this function because it is in public specifier. So that is the thing, private member functions. So what is the thing here? Hmm, okay. Dot read won't work because it is in for private. You can see these things are in private because we haven't specified any access specifier. So if we don't specify the access specifier, then by default it will be private. So we cannot access these things from the outside. So this won't work. Okay, this read cannot be accessed. This function cannot be accessed from outside. But these two functions can be accessed from outside because it is in public specifier. However, the function read can be called by the member function update the value of it. So that is it. It can be accessed. And we have just used the prototype here, and the body of the function is here. We can use the scope resolution operator to do that. And first of all, class name and then scope resolution operator. So I think something is mistake there. This should be capital S. So class name should be sample with capital S, and then the scope resolution operator, and then rest of the thing. And I think I have already talked about the scope resolution operator. We have already looked the example. You can see this circle. Okay, this one. So this is the constructor for this class. Okay, this constructor is okay. Even the constructor is defined outside of the class. You can see even constructor can be defined outside of the class if you have included the prototype definition inside of the class. So this is the thing by using scope resolution operator. And here you can see get area. This is also defined outside of the class, and get circumference. This is also defined outside of the class. Okay. So by using this thing, that is scope resolution, and first of all, class name and then scope resolution, that is double colon. Okay. So scope resolution, where can we use this scope resolution? We can use in various cases, right? So it can be used to access the global variable if we have the same variable inside of local scope. Okay, so we can use this scope resolution and access the same variable outside of the scope. So you can see global int x. Int x is the global x. And inside of the main function, there is also another x which have the local scope. Okay. So if I directly print this x, then this local scope will be printed. The x with local scope will be printed. But if I want to access that global X, then I will have to use this scope resolution for that. Okay. And then to access class static variables. So what are the static variables first? So static variables means those variables which are fixed for all the objects. So like let's see what is fixed for so we were taking the classes and objects as car example, like example is car. So let's say that all the cars that we are creating has the same engine. Okay. All the cars that we are making, that we are manufacturing have the same engine. So in that case, we can say this engine as static variable because it is not changing according to the object. We are creating red car, blue car, different kind of car. These are different objects that we are creating. But uh, on varying the objects, on different objects, it is not getting changed. The static variable doesn't get changed. Okay, so that is the main thing. The static variable doesn't get changed with different objects. So whatever be the objects, okay, there may be the variation of many objects, but the static variable will not get changed. Hmm, that is the main thing. You should not waste much more time than this. So in case of multiple inheritance as well, we can use the scope resolution. Uh, if same variable name exists in two ancestor classes, so if the same variable name exists in, so what is the case of multiple inheritance? So one class is inheriting two different classes. Okay, this is the multiple inheritance. So inside of these two parent classes, if the same variable name is existing, then we can specify the class name and scope resolution and variable name to specify whether it is from this parent or this parent. We can do like that. Okay. So then that thing is the uh, part of inheritance that we will study under the inheritance more clearly, including inbuilt functions. Sorry, libraries. We can use this scope resolution. So you can see I have already used this thing. So I have already used using namespace std. So this will do what? This will do all of this thing. All of this thing will be done. Okay. So instead of writing std and this double um, colon and then cout, I can directly use cout. And then in this case, I can directly use cin, and in this case, I can directly use indl, and likewise here as well. So now let's talk about the nested classes, and this is the last topic, I think. So how much time? Oh my God, 1 hour and 48 minutes. So let's let's finish this only first. Let's do this fast, okay? On nested classes. So what are the nested classes? So there are more than two classes. So one class is under the another class that is known as nested class. Okay. So the outside class is known as enclosing class, while inside class is known as nested class. So whichever class is inside of a class, let's say I have one class, and inside this class I have another class. So this another class is known as nested class, while this outside class is known as enclosing class. Okay. So the main thing we have to remember is we can access anything. We can access anything of enclosing class from inside of the nested class. Okay. So the inner class, whichever is the inner class, that can access everything from its own class as well, from the outside class as well. Okay. But but the outside class cannot access everything from inside the class, from inside class. Okay, that nested class. The enclosing class that was outside class cannot access everything from the nested class, inside class. Okay. So what it can't access, we will see just now. So you can see this thing here. So it can't access the private variables. Okay, that outside class cannot access the private variables of the inside class, but the inside class can access the private, public, everything from the outside of the class. Uh, it has no any boundaries, or we can say limitations. Yes, you can see this is the variable of outside class, that is enclosing class, and this is the variable of you can see this is the variable of inside class. And this is so the inside class, the nested class is finished here, and this function is of the enclosing class, that is outside class. So inside of this outside class, I want to print out n dot y. So I have taken a object of this class into n, and I want to print this y for the n dot y. Okay, so I want to print this, but this will give the compiler error because private y is private in nested. So you can see it is in private, so it cannot be accessed from outside of this class. That means the enclosing class cannot access these nested class properties, which is in private. So that is the main thing. Uh, but you can see inside of the nested class, I have int y, and inside of this nested class, I have this function. So you can see e is the object of enclosing class, and I want to access e dot x. So x is the data of enclosing class. So I can do that. It is private. Enclosing this act is private for enclosing class, but I can access it from the nested class inside of the class. So the inner class can access everything from his own class and outside class as well, but the outside class cannot access the private variables of the inside class. So that is the main thing to remember. And I think I'm clear with the basics of OOP. Okay. So I think I had something. Mm, nested class. So this is the summary. Access from enclosing to nested. The enclosing class cannot directly access the private members of the nested class. This enforces encapsulation and requires the use of accessor functions or friend declaration to allow such access. Okay, access from nested to closing. The nested class has full access to the members, including the private members of the enclosing class. This is because the nested class is considered an intimate part of the enclosing class. Okay, that is the thing. So I think we are done with the basic thing. And the one thing is remaining, I remember, that is pointer objects. The pointer objects is remaining, otherwise we have finished everything inside classes and objects. We have some other some keywords, some functions, and we will cover it later. Done, 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 done. Something is done at least.